Hi, Mary. Welcome to the Shine Festival and the Wellbeing Stage. You're here from Women's Aid's Two Into You project, which provides support for young people, in particular young women who are abused by their partner, boyfriend or girlfriend or an ex. Can you tell us a bit about Two Into You?
So I'm delighted to be here to be talking about Two Into You. So Two Into You is Women's Aid's campaign focused on young people and in particular young women. And it aims to teach young people about the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, and also about intimate relationship abuse, so abuse that happens within intimate relationships. We also teach young people about the red flags of abuse, like gaslighting and love bombing and things like that. And we have a dedicated website, so it's twointoyou.ie. And we also have an Instagram and a Twitter account, and it's at twointoyou.
That's great. So you mentioned the terms healthy and unhealthy relationships. So can you tell us a bit about some of the differences between a healthy versus an unhealthy relationship?
Yeah, so, not all relationships are healthy, but absolutely everyone deserves to have a healthy and a happy relationship. And healthy relationships, they really depend on a couple of key elements. So things like, healthy communication, healthy boundaries, mutual respect, and really supporting one another. So a healthy relationship is when your partner treats you as an equal. So they'll listen to you, they'll make you feel safe, they'll respect your opinions, they'll be truthful with you, they'll also respect your preferences. So say what you want to do or don't want to do in the relationship, or even your likes and dislikes, your hobbies, things like that. They're also happy for you to spend time with friends and family. So they, support your need for time alone and your independence. They'll also try to understand your viewpoint and don't, completely shut you down. And they'll also trust you and accept you as they are and not try to change who you are. And they'll support your choices in life. So, what you want to do, where you want to go to college, where you want to work. How you go about your day, they just support you. So in a healthy relationship, you really feel, positive, confident, respected, loved, and trusted. And then in an unhealthy relationship, your partner will make you feel afraid. So they might try to, control you. They might get jealous of you really easily. They might, criticize you, criticize how you look, what you wear, things like that. They also might, pressure you into moving really fast in the relationship. So, for example, saying I love you really soon, or doing things sexually that you don't feel ready to do. They also might, criticize your family and friends, or your want to have alone time, or time to spend with friends. They also might be constantly checking up on you. So, texting you, sending you loads of DMs, things like that. And unhealthy behaviors like that can really be a warning sign for intimate relationship abuse, or a red flag for abuse. So some other red flags would be, if they call you names or threaten you or threaten to hurt you, if they make you feel anxious or on edge, or they embarrass you in front of other people, or if they, lose their temper really easily, or fly off the handle, or get very emotional very quickly over things. So, these are all really unhealthy behaviors, and they can be red flags for intimate relationship abuse. So again, if you think about how the relationship makes you feel in an unhealthy relationship, your partner makes you feel scared, you feel trapped, worthless, confused. You might feel emotionally drained and really tired. You might feel, anxious, on edge, or unsure of things. They might accuse you of doing things that you didn't. And you might end up apologizing or feeling like you have to apologize all the time. So it can be really, really draining to be in an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah, that's really useful to be aware of. So can you tell us what intimate relationship abuse is? So it kind of sounds similar to the term domestic violence, which I thought only really happened to older people or people who are married.
Yeah, so that's something we hear quite often. So, when we think of terms like relationship abuse, domestic violence, you kind of think of someone who's older, married, they might be living with their partner for a number of years, they might have kids, and they could be living with an abusive partner for many years. But what a lot of people don't realize, in particular young people, is that, abuse can happen when you're young. So it can happen in your very first relationship. It can happen in casual relationships. And we know from our own research and our work with survivors of abuse that abuse is actually very common and it happens quite often to young women. So from our research, we have found that 1 in 5 young women by the age of 25 will have been abused by a current male partner or a male ex. And also for, most young women who are abused, that abuse starts before they turn 18. So, while they're still in school. So, it might have been their first relationship, so they don't have anything to compare it to. Things like that. So, abuse is common. It can happen to anyone, regardless of your age. It could be you, it could be your friend, your sister, your cousin. And abuse, it is serious and needs to be taken seriously. So I suppose to explain it a little bit more, intimate relationship abuse is when your partner, so your boyfriend or girlfriend, uses abusive behaviors to try and get all the power in the relationship. So they might do things like, try and manipulate you or guilt you or put you down to really control you. And, often when we think of abuse and domestic violence, things like that, we think of physical abuse. But relationships can be abusive and unhealthy without physical abuse. So actually emotional abuse is far more common, especially amongst young women. So emotional abuse would include, non-physical behaviors. So things like threats, insults, if they're constantly checking in on you, humiliation, intimidation, things like gaslighting, if they isolate you, cut you off from family and friends, or stalk you or monitor you. And that can include, monitoring your whereabouts online and things like that. So, if they're yelling at you, shouting at you, calling you names, demanding to know, where you are or who you're with, those would be real red flags for emotional abuse. And we know as well from our research that of the young women who had experienced abuse, that 9 in 10 of them had experienced emotional abuse. And emotional abuse can be really, really draining, and it can impact, your self-esteem, your mental health, your trust in your feelings and your gut. And it can happen really slowly and subtly and get much worse over time. So that's why it's really important to know what unhealthy behaviors look like and feel like, so that you can recognize them early on when you first start seeing someone. And, abuse can also happen online. So, for example, if your partner is bombarding you with texts and DMs and comments on all of your social media, and it can feel like you owe them to always be on and to always answer them back. But, behavior like this, it's actually very controlling. And if it happens often, it can be a red flag for abuse.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think a lot of people think that, wanting to text your partner all the time seems like a really normal part of a relationship. And it's kind of a sign that your partner might really like you. So abuse just seems like quite a strong word to use.
Yeah, so we hear that a lot. So I suppose, wanting to talk to the person you're going out with all the time, especially at the start of the relationship, can, feel really normal, especially when things are fresh and new and exciting. But if, the person you're seeing gets angry or upset, if you don't text them back straight away, or, they might give you the silent treatment. If you don't write back, it could be a sign that they don't respect your boundaries or your time for yourself. And if this continues to happen, it could be a sign that the relationship is unhealthy, because in a healthy relationship, your partner will respect your boundaries and your time for yourself. Another example then is wanting to spend all your time together. So when you first start going out, it can feel exciting and make you feel really special if the person you're seeing wants to spend all of their time with you. But, if that becomes a pattern and then they complain when you don't spend all their time with them, this could be, a red flag for them being really possessive later on in the relationship. And if they act like this early on, they might try to isolate you even more later on by complaining when you spend time with friends and family. So again, in a healthy relationship, you have space to be yourself outside of the relationship. And, the other person should support your hobbies and your relationship with other friends and family. And the other person, doesn't need to know or to be involved with every part of your life. Having independence means, being free to do what you want and giving your partner the freedom to do the same. And in an unhealthy relationship, your partner, they'll try to keep you from spending time with friends. So they'll try and isolate you and cut you off from friends. But often this can be really hard to spot. So it can happen really slowly, with them asking you to, spend more one-on-one time with them. But then later on, it might escalate and they might demand that you don't see certain people. So, they might ask you to choose between them and your friends. Or they might, insist that you spend all of your time with them, or make you question, your opinions or what you think of certain friends or family members. So they'll basically complain about your friends and family. And what this can do is it can make you feel really isolated and lonely, and it can make you become really dependent on your partner, for love and acceptance, especially, regardless of how badly they treat you.
Okay, yes, so that's good to be aware of. So just a scenario, say if your partner gets a bit jealous when you spend time with a male friend, and they, tell you they don't want you spending time with them anymore, because they're afraid you might cheat on them. That's not abuse, is it?
Yeah, so in a healthy relationship, again, we have to look at trust. So trust comes easily in a healthy relationship, and the person you're seeing doesn't get jealous, or doesn't get jealous easily, and doesn't always accuse you of flirting with other people. So, if your partner is jealous to a point where they try to control who you spend time with or what you do, that's not healthy. It's a real red flag for an unhealthy relationship. If they get upset when you text or hang out with people they feel threatened by, or wrongly accusing you of flirting or cheating. This is really controlling and possessive behavior. And often possessiveness can be excused as being overprotective, or I'm only jealous because I have really strong feelings for you. But real love and healthy relationships come from respect and trust. And again, even if it feels like, early on in the relationship, it feels like something that you can put up with, things like this are red flags for a reason. They can get so much worse over time, because they can, signal early on the things that feel normal, but over time can get so much worse and can completely devastate, your life, your friendships, and your future. And I suppose, again, to reiterate, everyone deserves to have a happy and a healthy relationship, and no one deserves to be intimidated, put down, or manipulated, especially by the person who's supposed to care about you.
Great. Yeah. So you mentioned like respect and trust there, and being really important for healthy relationships. So do you have any advice on what else you could do to try and have a healthy relationship?
Yeah, so there's lots of things you can do to have a healthy relationship. So one of the best things that you can do is to have open communication with your partner. So, talking about your relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend, talk about what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable, your limits, what you're okay with, what you're not okay with. And it's important that you're able to feel comfortable expressing your boundaries with your partner, and that your partner respects them. That's a real test of a healthy relationship. So that means, that everyone feels comfortable communicating their needs without fear of what the other person will do. And also talking about what you're ready or not ready for can be an important part of really making sure that you feel safe comfortable in your relationship. So as an example, saying I love you. So people move at different paces in relationships, even in the same relationship. So if your partner says I love you and you don't feel the same way yet, that's okay. Just because you're not ready to say it doesn't mean that you don't have feelings for them. But what you can do is you can let them know, how it feels to hear them say it, and tell them how you feel about them and the relationship. Another way to promote healthy relationships as well is to talk about, your physical boundaries. So in a healthy relationship, you'll both know how far the other wants to go based on that, open conversation and communication. And you both feel comfortable talking about things if things change. So you can talk about what you feel comfortable with, and that could change. So that's an ongoing conversation that needs to happen. And also it's important to remember, you don't owe your partner anything. If they say that, you don't care about them because you've told them how far you want to go physically, that is manipulation, and that can be really unhealthy.
Great, that's good advice. So finally then, what else can people do to learn about healthy and unhealthy relationships?
Yeah, so at our website, 2into2.ie, we have a healthy relationship quiz, and it's just 10 short questions, and anyone can go on and answer the questions, and it'll give you an idea of where your relationship is at, how it makes you feel. And you can also learn about the red flags and common warning signs of abuse. And you can also follow the 2into2 campaign on Instagram and Twitter. And we'll be sharing lots of tips and information on healthy relationships and red flags and looking out for your friends and things like that. So make sure and give us a follow on socials at 2into2.
That's great, Mary. Thanks so much for all the tips and advice. And yeah, as Mary said, don't forget to go to 2into2.ie for more information and to follow us on socials as well.
Thanks.